Hey, welcome. So, this is just Diced Coffee Let's Play, where the Dungeon Master, that would be me, plays a bunch of tabletop related video games. Things that are simple, story driven, narrative driven. So, this is the third time that I'll be playing Vampire the Masquerade on Coteries of New York, and I have to say I really love this game. I love the story so far, and I really want to know what happens next. If you weren't here for the first two videos, I am playing a Ventru, one of three playable characters in this game. The Ventru in Vampire Masquerade lore are traditionally the leaders, the politicians, the businessmen, the people with the charisma and the influence. A lot's happened since then. My character has been taken in as a protege of sorts to one of the local toreadors of the Camarilla in New York. And yeah, let's just get started. Not long after you wake up, Gregory knocks on the door of your apartment. Hey, I came to pick you up. Miss Langley wants to see you. Do you know what she needs me for? I'm not in the position to ask. He smiles politely. Car's waiting, shall we? You wrestle with the same thoughts as a few nights ago. Maybe you should just leave. Disappear. Let Sophie find somebody else to employ. But then you remember the Anarch thug being cut down by Kadir, and how close you were to the same fate, not even a week ago, and that it might still happen. You step out of line. You follow suit. As with your previous visit here, Sophie seems not entirely present when you enter. Her eyes are locked on to one of the paintings in the room. You're pretty sure it was here earlier, but she's behaving as if she's seeing it for the first time in her life, entirely entranced. Gregory clears his throat. Sophie turns to the both of you, a bit of irritation in her countenance, but soon gives way to a pleasant, warm smile. You're here. Excellent. Thank you, Gregory. Her driver leaves, and she turns her attention to you. I hope you had a good few nights and made some new acquaintances. What I have to say, I am happy to see you, Liliana. Thank you for coming. The change in the mood of the room is so sudden and startling. Makes you consider the true power of vampiric charisma. Rationally, you know you're being manipulated, but you don't even care. Her eyes, her motions, her entire body language all feel 100% genuine and expressing legitimate interest in you and your well-being. I have a request for you this night. I need you to find somebody for me and make a delivery. She points to the statue at the side of the room. You notice a plain-looking flash drive lying on the edge where the inanimate archer's bow touched the pedestal. The man you'll be looking for calls himself Kaiser. He has eyes and ears all over New York, and it's rare for something to happen here without his knowledge. I need you to take this flash drive and bring it to him. In exchange, he will give you an address, which I need to know as soon as possible. You're about to ask what's on the drive, but Sophie proves to be one step ahead of you. Oh, don't worry about the contents. They're encrypted. A precaution for if the data falls into the wrong hands. But it won't. Correct? She gives you a smile that just a handful of nights ago would have made you feel like melting. Oh, and Ilyana. Kaiser's a Nosferatu. That twisted, deformed lineage of kindred. He's old, and his age has made him even more paranoid than others in his clan tend to be. He holds many havens and changes them often. From what I've gathered, he and one of his servants should be found at the park in Coney Island tonight. You'll have to identify them, somehow. I'm told Kaiser spent many of his past nights these past few years being driven around the city in a black limo. Maybe keep an eye out for it. That smile again, but much shorter. Anything more you can tell me about Kaiser? He's been here a long time. About as long as I have. He got into a lot of trouble for exchanging information with both the Anarchs and the Camry in the past, but ultimately got off scot-free. Kaiser's web of information proved to be strong enough to shield him from the consequences of playing both sides. Some say that's the best proof of his abilities. In any case, be careful when talking to him. He's very particular about everyone's etiquette except his own. Good night, and good luck. He flashes one smile at you, and turns back to the painting. Clearly done with the conversation. You pocket the flash drive, and head out towards Coney Island. For those who are unaware, and just a little bit of VTM lore here, the Nosferatu are traditionally disgusting. They are the clan that's been cursed with their appearance. They are not very pleasant to look at, usually bald, sharpened ears, veiny kind of forehead and unusually grey skin. So normally their havens would be in the sewers or somewhere deep down where people can't see them because they're walking Masquerade breach, and in Vampire the Masquerade, people are not supposed to know that vampires exist. Hence the term the Masquerade, which is the sort of veil of secrecy. And the Nosferatu walking around in public is sort of a huge breach of that just because of their appearance alone. So seeing one being driven around a limousine, this guy must have some sort of connection or something. It takes you the better part of an hour to reach the lights and sounds of the Coney Island amusement park from the city. The drive is almost pleasant this time of night. Thank God for Belt Parkway. There are plenty of people here tonight, but nobody who stands out as a traveling purveyor of secrets. Then again, if they did stand out, it would be kind of pointless, right? Nothing to do but figure out the right approach. Given we're dealing with a Nosferatu, I don't think it's smart to just ask around for him, so I'm gonna start looking. There are plenty of nooks and crannies to investigate around here, but if Kaiser frequents this area, there has to be some kind of clue to grab onto, right? You spend a good hour snooping around, eyes peeled for the black limo Sophie mentioned, or any sign that a Nosferatu or any vampire has their haven around these parts. Zilch. Annoyed, turn back toward the lights of the amusement park, only to find a man standing in your way. Wearing an oversized jacket, he had the air of a junkie or dealer about him. Who knows what he's got in those pockets? You lost? Nah, I'm not lost. Just taking in the sights. Sure you are. He looks at you intently, like he's trying to guess your real purpose here. Get out of here before I kick your ass. You're asking for it. Don't push me. Look who's talking. He doesn't take that well. He reaches into his pocket, produces a gun. You rush him. Bang! The bullet hits you, but you barely notice. What would be a debilitating wound for a mortal is just a scratch for you. Shame about your clothes, though. It takes a bit of brawling. The man's stronger than you'd expect, but using your powers, you're able to overcome him. With a few hits to the jaw, the man passes out from pain. Searching him, you find a fancy phone that doesn't look like anything readily available in the market. The phone's locked, but a recent smudge on the screen gives you a rough idea of what the combination might be. You get it right the second try. There's just one number in the phone book, unlabeled. You dial it, hear someone pick up. The voice is like a rusty pitchfork scraping against gravel.
Jerky, you're messing up my snuff session here. Better be something big.
Hi, I have something for you from Sophie Langley. Care to come pick it up? Silence. Not even a sound. The call ends. You try calling again, but the number is blocked. Nothing to do but wait to see if he shows up. Not 15 minutes pass before the black limo stops near where you're waiting. The door opens an invitation. The inside of the limo used to be a luxury lounge, the kind with a stripper pole and a bar full of alcohol. But currently, it has none of that. Instead, there are monitors and consoles. There are dozens of displays, each one showing something different. Surveillance camera footage, stock market quotes, television news, emails, tweets, silent movies, lo-fi footage of a gory torture session. You wonder if the limo's owner can focus on anything while surrounded by all of this visual noise, and then realize there's nobody there. Or is there? The man blinks into existence on a leather couch, attempting to maintain something that approximates a regal presence. You're 100% sure it's Kaiser. Surrounded by dimly lit computer screens, his features are even more ghastly than you imagine. All the sharp angles of twisted bone, mangled flesh, and crooked teeth. He bears them in an awful parody of a smile. Suddenly, someone grabs you from behind, twists your arm, and pushes your head against the car roof.
I got him, boss. I have him.
The Nosferatu chuckles.
Oh, congratulations, dickweed. Could have done that before you gave away the fucking phone. Just let him go already. But you going to make me repeat myself, you thick motherfucker?
He lets go. You take a look at him. The man is confused and clearly hurting. He flashes you an angry stare but obeys his boss's orders to the letter.
What? You waiting for a formal invitation? Get in the car. We have some talking to do.
The doors close behind you.
So, Langley, huh? I'm guessing you've got something for me then.
You reluctantly pull the flash drive from your pocket and slowly pass it to Kaiser. He plugs it into a USB port on the arm of his chair and displays the data on ones of the screens that happen to be turned away from you. It takes him about a minute to access the data.
Who do you people think I am? I saw this footage a week ago.
He removes the flash drive and throws it back at you in disgust.
Tell Sophie the deal's off. She wants her address, she can give me something else.
It's dangerous because I know he's powerful. I doubt he's gonna fall for something like presence. Although traditionally in VTM, presence is not a detectable discipline. Oh, come on, give me a break. How could we have known that you've seen this material already? He gives you a patronizing look.
Kid, and you here, so I'll pretend I didn't hear that. You want the address? You're gonna have to work for it. I have just the idea. Yeah, something appropriate for an eager fledgling like yourself. More on that soon. Stay tuned. Now get the fuck out.
You're pretty sure you're done here. You get out, close the door behind you, and the car immediately starts backing up. The opaque windows slide past you, and soon the limo is on its way. Kaiser's lackey is nowhere to be seen, so you make your way to your car and drive back, wondering what tomorrow brings. That certainly wasn't pleasant. Jesus, that conversation took up my entire day. Wow. Okay. You're walking down the street towards your haven. In some other town, the sidewalks would be deserted this time of night. In NYC, there are plenty of passerbys going about their business. It's easy to be paranoid when you're a vampire surrounded by a crowd of humans. The kindred have many enemies, and all those enemies have one trait in common. They're invisible, indistinguishable, normal humanity. Other vampires, hunters, all look like people. Is that old man just a tired restaurant worker? Or a kindred thrall tailing your movements? Are the officers idly waiting in a patrol car, ordinary cops, or Second Inquisition specialists looking to end undead threats? This kind of thinking leads to madness, but you can't shake the feeling that someone's watching you. Not the first time you felt like this. Whatever this is, probably something you have to take care of. Best case, someone is tailing you. Worst case, you'll be attacked and killed. Fortunately, being undead has its limitations. The sun is coming up soon. You'll burn to a crisp if you stay in the streets. You reach your haven and settle in for the day, disconcerted by the idea that someone might know where you sleep. As you wake up from your slumber and emerge from your haven for the night, you notice a familiar face on the side of the street, standing in the corner looking straight at you. It's Kaiser's lackey whom you recently met, Jackie. He nods to you, encouraging you to approach. He still looks kind of rough after your last brawl, but the damage to his face is clearly mended. His hands are out of his pockets though. A sign of goodwill? That's close enough. Let me guess, this is not a social visit. Kaiser sent you?
Don't say his name out loud, idiot.
He takes a look around just to make sure nobody's listening in on your conversation. Yeah, he sent me. I'm supposed to give you this. He produces a crumpled piece of paper from his jacket pocket and hands it to you. Read it, memorize it, then give it back here. It's a letter. The paper might be just a page ripped out of a spiral notebook, but the writing on it is exquisitely detailed and deliberate. It reads,
"Time to square off your debt with me. Go to the wine shop at 232 Mulberry Street and ask for the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Maro. When they tell you they don't have it, say you're a Fidelis Servitor de la Familia G. Those exact fucking words, and make sure you get the G right."
How do you get a letter wrong?
You get a bottle, just take it and leave it by saying grazie. Don't ask how much it is or anything else. Just walk out. When you have it, come back to Jackie Boy here and let him know.
You done? Memorize that shit and hand it over. Didn't peg your boss for a letter kind of guy. Isn't electronic communication his old shtick? Yeah, well, some things are better done the old-fashioned way. You about done with that letter? You note the phrase and address mentioned in the letter, then hand it back to Jackie. He immediately reaches for a lighter and burns the letter, putting out the ashes with his boot. So, yeah. When you do what the boss asks, come back here so I can tell you where to go next. I'll be in that alley over there. So find me when you have the item, whatever it is. I don't know, and the boss made it extra clear that I shouldn't care, though I don't. See ya. He shuffles away, and leaves you to pursue the lead from the letter. Time to pay a visit to Nolita. You arrive at the address mentioned in the note. Not counting local restaurant patrons, the street is mostly empty at this time of night, but curiously, the wine shop is still open. Inside, a small middle-aged woman, curly hair, stands behind the counter in front of a wall filled with wine bottles. There's a door at the back of the room with a small table and chair occupied by a man in a black fall leather jacket with a slick coned back hair. He's reading the newspaper, but pauses a little as a little bell rings when you open the door. He takes a sip from a small steaming cup, then gets back to his broadsheet. Good evening. How can I help you? I would like a bottle of the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Amaro, please. Let me check our stock. He seems to be looking through a database on the laptop sitting on the counter. He puts on a polite smile. I'm afraid we don't have that one at the moment. Sorry. Recite the phrase. Straight and simple is what he said. I'm a fedele servitore della famiglia G. Ah, in that case, let me see if we have any in the back. Wait here, please. The woman leaves the counter and goes through the doors in the back. The man by the table puts down his newspaper and takes another sip from the cup, washing it down with a gulp of water from a nearby glass. He tries to hide it, but there's no doubt he's watching you. About a minute passes. You remind yourself of what Kaiser wrote in the letter and keep quiet, patiently waiting for the woman to return from the back of the store. The man finishes his drink and starts doodling on the newspaper, his eyes darting to you every so often. The doors to the back of the store open, and the proprietor emerges with a small, unlabeled, squat bottle of crimson liquid. He gives you an apologetic smile. Scusi, sorry for taking so long. And turns out we did have it. She offers you the bottle. You reach out and grab it, but she retracts it. You do know what this is, don't you? You focus your blood, and immediately see both of the people in the shop focus intently on you and what you're about to say. I know exactly what this is, and I'm the right person to give it to. The woman gives you the bottle without hesitation. Grazie. Deciding you pushed your luck far enough, you nod and exit the store. Then take a brisk walk to your car. Nobody follows as you leave Nolita and drive back to your apartment. It takes you some time to find a parking spot, but you finally get out of the car and start looking for Jackie. He's not far from where you parted ways just under 2 hours ago. You got the goods? I sure do. Cool. Stand by. Gotta make a call. He takes a few more steps into a narrow space between two buildings and takes out the same high-tech phone you saw him carrying last time. Hey, boss. Yeah, I have it. Where do I point him to? Okay. Yep. I'll tell him to go there right away. He puts the phone back in his pocket and turns back to you. Willets Point. Half an hour. You better step on it. See you around. With only a flippant salute, Jackie starts walking down the street. You make your way back to the car and drive. I feel like I'm being treated as an errand boy here. This is getting a bit annoying. Wish I could kill the guy, really. You had to push the speed limit to make it on time, but you're here. Willets Point is quite a change of scenery. The place is a post-industrial dump, the nearby stadium notwithstanding. You stop your car once you realize that if you go any further down, the potholes will kill your chassis. You step out into one of those gashes in the asphalt, splashing in ankle-deep water. Kaiser's limo nowhere to be seen. In fact, the whole place is pretty much deserted, other than the apparent proprietor of a lonely bar, a middle-aged woman who's just locking up the place. Wait for Kaiser makes me hungrier? Okay, so for those of you who don't know about the game, you see this red stuff on the screen where where my mouse is kind of pointing? That grows more the hungrier you get, and you risk frenzy if you don't feed. So I think this is a good time to feed. This is too perfect an opportunity to not take advantage of. She's walking to her car, ready to call it a night, when you sneak up on her. She's far too tired to resist your strong hold and swift bite. You can taste the caffeine in her veins, smell the cheap cigarettes in her hair, the old cooking grease in her clothes. She passes out. Your assault, the closing note of a long day at work. Great, now I kind of feel bad for feeding on her. You let her down gently and feel a pang of remorse. Exactly what I said. You pick up the car keys she dropped and place her in front of the driver's seat. She'll find an explanation for passing out like this for sure. The bright lights of a car pulling over down the road illuminate you as you close the door. It's a black limo. Kaiser's finally here, it would seem. Same as last time, the car doors open, but nobody comes out. You know the drill. This time, Kaiser's visible when you look inside. You sit down and close the door behind you.
So, you pulled it off, huh? Without a hitch, huh? Give it here.
You hand the bottle over to the Nosferatu. He uncorks it, gently takes a whiff, and puts the cork back in.
Yeah, that's the stuff. See, that wasn't so hard. Consider your debt paid. Oh yeah, and also, take this. It's what Langley wanted.
He passes you an envelope with what feels like a thick card inside. Me, as a player, wants to pick this option and be a dick. But my character is not an idiot. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser.
Yeah. I'll send Jackie over if I ever need anything else from you. How about that? Time for you to get out now.
He waves you out of the car with the envelope in hand. You get out, back onto the torn asphalt in decrepit surroundings. The limo slowly drives away. Finally, you can return to Sophie and bring her what she wanted. See, I'm a little confused here because I couldn't drive my car through the street or else the asphalt on the potholes would ruin it, but he can drive his stretch limo? Alright. Gregory lets you in. You hear a shrill, unpleasant laugh and you realize Sophie's having a guest over. Thomas Arturo, you met in Elysium a few nights back. That shriek is unmistakable. Ah, Liliana, so good to see you. Tell me, did you two have a chance to talk previously? Thomas speaks up before you can.
Why yes, of course. And such a good first impression you made too. Miss Langley clearly did the right thing by taking you under her wing. I'm sure she thinks so too, don't you, Sophie?
Why, of course
Of course you do, of course. Well, I believe I must be going. I'll be sure to let Prince Hanard know your thoughts, Miss Langley. Word for word, or as close as I can remember them.
I appreciate it, Thomas.
You two enjoy your night now. Good night, Sophie. Liliana. Greggy boy.
This guy feels like a douche. Yeah, he feels like a douche. He gives you a sly smile. Sophie's driver opens the door for Arturo, and the guest steps out with a single wave of the hand towards his host and you. The doors close. That guy's a creep. I wouldn't be so harsh, fledgling. But it does take some getting used to, certainly. Thomas has clout in court and access to many juicy details on everyone from the prince to the lowliest primogen. It's useful to have him on your side, even if his eccentricity requires some patience. Speaking of patience, you have been putting mine to the test lately. Did you manage to contact Kaiser and acquire what I asked for? I do have it. He gave me this card. Apologies for keeping you waiting. She retrieves the envelope from you. What's important is that you have it. Did he give you trouble? He made me go on an entirely separate escapade to retrieve a bottle of wine from a store in Nolita. I had to use code phrases and whatnot. Wine shop? Code phrases? That degenerate pest. She's visibly agitated, but calms down and smiles at you. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that whatever Kaiser had you do, it'll blow over. Why does that make me feel like I did something bad? Did I do something bad? She opens the envelope and looks at the card. You notice the same lettering you saw in Kaiser's note from before, but can't see the details. Her eyes widen. Yes, excellent. I need to call in some favors. I will likely be busy for the next few nights. You have my permission to show some initiative, my dear charge. I will contact you soon. With that, Sophie ushers you outside, and you are left to do with the rest of the night's hours as you like. Okay, so last game I made a coterie. That would be Hope, the unusual Malkavian, which is sort of redundant, and I believe this one, D'Angelo, the more acceptable Nosferatu. Then I got some sort of stalker's letter, which is another option. There's this guy that I could meet. New members of the coterie, maybe. I feel like between the Nosferatu and the Malkavian, I could use a Gangrel. Fun fact for everyone, in case you've ever played a game called Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, there was a character there named Jezebel who was kind of spreading a plague by basically biting a sick human and then biting other humans and delivering that disease. Vampires are immune to the disease, but they make very, very excellent carriers. I wonder if there's a nod to Bloodlines. You make your way through the Grand Army Plaza, passing the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arc. You can't help but feel a tinge of nostalgia as you picture the place you've seen countless times in broad daylight, teeming with life. You quickly get over it and pass through the northwest gate into Prospect Park. The park is its usual maze of unkempt foliage and dimly lit alleys. Silence hangs in the air as it would at this time of night. There doesn't appear to be any sign of kindred presence. You start to suspect Langley's sources fed her a bunch of bullshit, but you're not willing to give up just yet. As you ponder your options, you hear footsteps coming from behind a line of trees, quickly but evenly paced, most likely a late-night jogger. No vampire would take kindly to you feeding on their domain. But then again, perhaps you could kill two birds with one stone. I'm not actually hungry. If you've noticed, there's no blood on the screen, so I am not going to do anything stupid. You head south, delving deeper into less frequented sections of the park. Passing a babbling stream, you make your way into the ravine. Home to some of the oldest trees in the park. It's the place to go when you want to get away from the crowd and enjoy some one-on-one time with nature. And that's during the day. At night, it's bound to be a gangrel's delight. Making your way through the brush, you come across a rocky crevice hidden behind a wobbly chain link fence. You leap over the fence in a single bound, trying to land as quietly, as kindredly possible. The crevice looks deep enough for you to think twice about jumping in. Instead, you peer into the darkness below, listening intently. In a split second, the air by the side of your head swirls like a vortex. Driven by sheer instinct, you lean back just as 5 finger-shaped razors cut through the darkness, missing your face by an inch. A clawed shadow jumps back a few paces, preparing to correct its mistake. You catch a glimpse of the assailant. Looks pretty animalistic. Alright, but he's not the one you're looking for starters. It's a he. Just as he's about to lunge at you, a snarl resounds from the bush nearby, stopping your foe in their tracks. Out of the shadows emerges a young woman, baring her teeth ever so slightly. She walks over, calmly, her eyes fixed on your assailant. Her presence is enough to make him reconsider attacking you, but not to withdraw completely. He glances over to her, puffing up his chest. "Stay out of it, Tam. I smelled her first." "Tam, how about that?" She raises an eyebrow but remains silent. Her compatriot turns back towards you. "You shouldn't have come here, girlie. I'm gonna fuck you up so bad you'll be wearing your tongue as a fucking necktie." Tamika looks at you, expectantly. Can I dominate him? I'm gonna dominate him. Your eyes find his. Your words become imperatives, grasping your victim's mind like a vice. "You're getting ahead of yourself, little doggy. Go on now. Get." Noticing what is happening, Tamika looks at you with anger and disbelief. Her friend staggers and shifts his weight, barely managing to stay on his feet. Fighting against the strain, he sinks his claws into the back of his head. A few drops of blood trickle from his nose. "You ventru bitch! I'll rip off your tits and feed them to you!" A fierce growl echoes from the alley, stopping the savage in his tracks. Tamika walks over to her comrade, her fangs glistening in the dim lamplight. She puts her hand on the side of his head, caressing his hair and tugging at his ear as if she was scolding a puppy. She leans over and speaks in a voice that's firm, yet oddly affectionate. "It's okay, Raoul. I'll handle it from here." The male gangrel looks at her with a mix of timidity and resentment. Then he turns back towards you. "So, that's how it's gonna be, huh?" He yanks his head back and aims a gob of bloody spittle straight at your feet. "Get fucked, both of you." Having said his piece, Raoul retreats into the shadows. Although, if you were to guess, he's likely to stay within earshot. With her companion gone, Tamika turns to you once more. "What do you want?" Short story. I'm new here. I'm looking for a chance to leave my mark. Maybe shake things up a bit in the process. I could use your help. Why me? Why not? An inkling of a smile creeps across her lips. Let's just get one thing straight. If you're looking for a hired gun, I'm not the type. This is different. I don't think I have that kind of money that could persuade you. All I offer is my help, and someday, maybe, my friendship. Do I strike you as someone who needs a friend? You strike me as someone looking for a way out. Out of his park, for starters. Is that why you're here? To break me out? Are you my ticket out of here? Look, I'm not stupid. I know you can leave anytime, with or without me. I'm just asking for a couple of nights of your time. What's it gonna be? For a brief moment she stands there, motionless, looking straight into your eyes as if to size you up. Finally she looks away. It looks like she's come to a decision. Just so that we're clear, I don't trust you. I have no reason to. Frankly, you sound more lost than I am. Still, there's something about you. You look like you should reek of bullshit. But somehow, you don't. I'll give you a chance to prove yourself. I have some outstanding business to take care of. I'll let you know once that's done. Meet me here, and we'll see what you're really made of. And with that, Tamika disappears into the night. That went pretty well, all things considered. Guessing I don't have the time for another thing. Yep, rest. Got it. This game feels like everyone just hates me. Who's this guy? A nosy reporter. Sleazy reporter, gossip magazine, sniffing around Sophie's haven. I feel like it's important for me to handle this. It is my ward. It did save my life. The street lights filter into the apartment in a stark white glow, as if someone were shooting a movie outside. The art pieces display a tastefully expensive, entirely fitting the image you have of Sophie. It feels as if 1,000 sins have been committed on these premises, most of them under her benevolent hospitality. Sophie comes to greet you as you enter the living room, shaking her head. You understand that people judge me based on how you dress, don't you? Sophie looks at your clothes as if resigned to your sartorial limitations. I've tried to dress inconspicuously because of the masquerade. That's very sensible of you. I suppose I should commend you for that. Sophie walks to the window and looks out, the street lights playing on her features. She reminds you of a queen contemplating the unfortunate limitations of her subjects. You'd think that as a vampire, at least we wouldn't have to worry about the vultures of the press. Unfortunately, when you have power and ability, there are always parasites trying to feed on you. Is that reporter after you? Yes, a terribly persistent creature. Sophie steps away from the window and settles down on a sofa, a wine glass with red liquid in it. Blood, treated as not to spoil. You've become good at noticing the scent, even from a distance. She doesn't offer you any as you cautiously sit down across from her. This awful man has been stalking my apartment with a camera. He's gone through my trash, talked to my neighbors. Please be a dear and explain to him that there's nothing for him here. Is this about the Masquerade? That's a big deal for us, right? Indeed. You're learning. This must happen often. How do you usually deal with it? Everyone has their own way. Sometimes the problem goes away with a bit of money or sharp words. Other times, you need something more. Do you know anything about this reporter? Man, woman, young, old, anything like that? All gossip reporters look the same to me. Time for you to go. I have business to attend to. You leave the apartment as Sophie disappears into another room. You don't have a clear idea of the games she plays with the city's mortals and immortal power structures, but she always seems to be making a move. Outside on the street, there's a slight, warm drizzle. The kind that gets under your clothes and makes you want to take a shower. When you get back to your own haven, no reporters immediately jump out to you. You start with the basics of investigative work. You ask the proprietor of the bodega around the corner, the homeless man sleeping in a nearby doorway, and the doorman of another building whether they've seen anyone strange. Detective work produces results. You get a description of a man who sounds like a reporter. Older, overweight, pasty, in bad physical condition. Professional camera. Once you know what you're looking for, it's not difficult. You spot a man who matches the description and follow him. You enter an alley, a dark, dingy space between two tall buildings. Once upon a time, a place like this might have worried you, made you think of muggings and violence. Now it's clear that the most dangerous thing here is you. The man you're following seems to realize this too. He holds his camera in front of him like a shield. It's heavy, objective resting on his paunch. With a start, you recognize him. You remember the face, the shaded sunglasses from a picture next to a byline in some trashy paper someone thrust in your face at your company party. His name is Frank Dorothy. And he'd taken pictures of one of your investors feeling up a sex worker at a nightclub. You'd been there too. And the funny thing was, what Dorothy showed in the photo was just the tip of the iceberg. After all hard, work hard, play hard was the order of the day.
Hey, don't go scaring people like that.
You're Frank Dorothy, aren't you? I recognize you from that thing. You're a fake reporter, right?
I'm a real reporter, damn it.
What are you reporting on?
I'm not sure you can help me. Well, perhaps you can. You live here?
I'm working on a story about a local resident. Her name is Sophie Langley. Everybody knows her in high society circles. She's a redhead, pretty as a picture, and there were a lot of pictures of her through the years. That's the thing. Back, look at this. Frank pulls out his phone and starts showing you pictures. Some of them have been downloaded from news sites, while others are photos from the society pages of newspapers from past decades. All show Sophie. She has different clothes, hairstyles, makeup, names, but her face remains the same. That's strange. What do you think is going on?
Beats me. That's what I'm here to find out.
You must have a theory about what's happening.
I have a theory or two. Before I print my theory, I need facts to back it up. 3 words. Extreme plastic surgery. All the celebrities do it. Only a doctor is the better than the rest.
You look critically at the photos on Frank's phone. So you think she's like 70, and plastic surgery makes her look 30? I mean, Frank, buddy, no surgeon is that good. Frank looks deflated. He's probably already arrived at the same conclusion, despite his greasy appearance. He is a reporter, after all. So how would you explain it? Have you considered the possibility that those pictures are a hoax? Sure, anything can be a hoax, but I dug up those old papers from the archives myself. I gotta have something usable. Now comes the time where I tell him to leave. You look Frank in the eyes. They are red behind his shaded glasses. Veins pop from the years of neglecting his body. Suddenly, he seems soft, easy to manipulate. His will nothing but plaster crumbling under your boot. Go home and destroy your research on Sophie Langley. As your vampiric gaze takes over Frank's mind, he feels less than a person and more like an automaton. A machine you can program. Perhaps this is why older vampires are said to think of humans as nothing but animals. How can you consider someone a thinking person with free will when you can override them at any moment? Frank is mumbling, fondling his camera, inching around you to the entrance of the alley. He looks sad and worn as he goes. A man who used to be something, now just a shell. It feels almost embarrassing to use the powers of your blood on someone so weak. At least you're pretty sure he'll stay away. That wasn't too hard, and I still got time. Let's go ahead and make friends with Tammy. Once again, you cross the gate of Prospect Park and head straight for where you last saw the feral duo. Minutes pass, finding no sign of Tamika. You begin to worry that something might have happened to her. Suddenly you hear rustling coming from nearby bushes, and it's not a stray cat kind of rustling either. Hey, you in the bushes. You know I can hear you, right? The rustling stops, if only for a second. Suddenly the bushes part, and Raoul walks out, desperately trying to look confident. Yeah? It's only because I wanted you to. Listen, I want to have a word before Tam gets here. She seems to like you for whatever strange reason. The way I see it, you're a nuisance at best. At worst, you're a threat. Excuse me, is there a point you're trying to get to? The point is, Tamika's my sister, in every sense of the word that counts. Anything that happens to her, that I find even remotely your fault, I'm coming after you. Is that clear? I'm not your enemy, or Tamika's. I don't think you understand. I don't give a fuck what you think you are. What I'm saying is, if anything happens to Tamika, I'm holding you accountable. All of a sudden, the sound of footsteps reaches your ears. It's just faint enough to not be ostentatious, but still loud enough to hear. You can tell that whoever's approaching wants to make their presence known. Both you and Raoul turn just in time to see Tamika emerge from behind an old sycamore tree. It's hard to tell just how long she's been listening in on your conversation. In any case, she walks up and speaks, addressing no one in particular. Did I miss anything? Your brother's worried about you. He seems to think I'm a bad influence. Aww. In an instant, her voice grows from mockingly sweet is stern and unyielding. Her next words sound like a challenge. Is that true, Raoul? You think I can't take care of myself? God damn it, Tam. That's not what this is about and you know it. I know, big brother. You meant well. You always mean well. Ah, screw it. Why do I even bother? And with that, Raoul takes his leave. Tamika waits in silence, just long enough to make sure he can no longer hear her, and addresses you. I have a favor to ask. Okay. What is it? I have an errand to run. I was hoping you'd come with me. There's a place east of here. It's just a short walk. We should be back in about 2, maybe 3 hours. Wait, we're walking? As in, on foot? In New York City? I don't like cars, alright? They remind me of old times, before I became this. It can be distracting. So, can we go? Sure, we can go for now. We can go now. You ready? Well, alright. And so you head towards the parking lot, accompanied by Tamika, and a lot of unanswered questions. Following Tamika's directions, you finally arrive at the Evergreen Cemetery, one of the oldest burying grounds in Brooklyn. You enter through the southwestern gate and follow your companion through a sea of tombstones. It's a nice enough place as far as graveyards go, much less homogenized than the usual flat field littered with identical markers. Tamika confidently presses on, swerving and weaving along pre-programmed path it's clear that she's been here more than a few times. Finally, she makes a sharp left and takes a few more steps down a gravel walkway, coming to a sudden stop in front of a modest headstone. The inscription reads, Lucas Santiago, beloved sister and daughter, born 1991, taken from us too soon. With her eyes fixed on the gravesite, he lets out an absent-minded utterance. I need a moment alone. Not long. 5 minutes at most. You look around in search for a good spot to wait for her and pass the time. At the far end of the nearby lawn, you notice a lone bench situated under a weeping willow. Suddenly, you hear voices, distant, slowly approaching. Judging by the tone and timbre, you're guessing it's a couple of teenagers out to get their late-night kicks among the dearly departed. Might be a good chance to feed. Then again, you could just pass the time walking around the area. It's actually quite nice, in a dark, somber kind of way. I need food. Take your time. I think I'll go grab myself a drink. Just do it quietly. I don't want any trouble. Not here. You leave Tamika alone and follow the voices. Soon enough, you come upon the couple in their late teens. Judging by the thick eyeliner in their clothes, consisting mostly of black leather and lace, you'd venture a guess that they'd love nothing more than to meet an actual vampire. You're happy to oblige. As you emerge from the shadows, you can feel your awe all intensify. The boy and the girl watch you, completely awestruck, waiting for you to approach. The slightest gesture is enough to shoo the boy away. He sits on a nearby bench and watches, completely enamored, as you press your lips against the girl's neck. It's a weird sensation to feel actual, honest-to-God pride in a victim's blood. But here you are. She's glad to have been chosen this way. You take one look at the boy's dark brown eyes to realize he's hoping for your attention too. Something about him doesn't feel right to you though. Instead, you decide it's a good idea for both of them to forget the whole affair. Grabbing their attention, you focus your nearly refreshed blood and will their minds to erase the last few minutes. Finally, you get back to the tree and find Tamika sitting on the bench. Without a word, you sit next to her. You look over to her, doing your best not to stare. She looks down, crossing her arms and putting her hands on her shoulders. In an instant, the ferocious savage disappears, replaced by a vulnerable young woman. I think I'm done. You okay? I'm better now. Sorry, I guess I should tell you what that was about. She looks away. You can tell she's struggling to open up to you. So you remain silent, trying not to make her uncomfortable. I was embraced not far from here, in this cemetery. A fitting spot, I suppose. It was close to a decade ago. I'd been on the road a couple of years at that point, hitchhiking from one town to another. New York was supposed to be just another stop. And then I met Jezebel. She was strong, smart, independent. Seemed like someone I could trust. Someone I could get close to. She never made me feel inadequate or ashamed. And she could hold her own in a fist fight too. Funny thing though, she only wanted to meet during nighttime. I didn't think much of it. Even came up with excuses for her. Busy, eccentric, whatever worked. Till one night, she sank her teeth into my neck. You keep using the past tense. I take it she's no longer around. She's not dead, if that's what you're asking. At least, not that I know of. She left soon after telling me. I think the conclave of Prague really shook her up. Wait, conclave of what now? Prague. It's a city in Central Europe. It was supposed to be neutral ground. A good place to discuss politics and strategy. It ended up almost turning into a civil war. Next thing you know, the anarchs were expunged from the Camarilla. All that they had done for our kind, the blood they spilled, it didn't amount to anything. I can't blame Jezebel for feeling betrayed, but yeah. Even though I still had Raoul and Luca, I was still furious and terrified. Luca died a few years later. Operation Lights Out, they called it. It was a coordinated assault by the Second Inquisition, a genocide by any other name. My family got together, brought up a plot, and buried an empty casket. I guess they wanted some closure. Can't fault them for that. Even though she's not really here, I like to come and visit from time to time. It reminds me of who I am. Keeps me in check. Keeps the beast at bay. Also, this being the place of my embrace, you have to appreciate that level of irony. She straightens up and looks at you, as if something just occurred to her. Sorry, I don't know what you came over me. I don't know what came over me. 1 minute, I'm all grunts and stares. The next, I'm giving you my biography. I guess I'm just tired of being scared. Alone. You're looking for a place to belong. In all the wrong places, it seems. At this point, I'm just looking for something to believe in. Someone I could give a damn about. You got me? For whatever it's worth. She looks at you. Her mouth drops open, ever so slightly. You can tell she wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I do, don't I? You open your mouth, but before you can make a sound, Tamika motions at you to keep quiet. She lifts her head and sniffs the air. Her ears perk up and her eyes widen. Suddenly she pushes you with all of her strength, sending you flying off the bench. Before you even hit the ground, an immense shape flies into view and smashes down into the bench, splintering it into pieces. With the blood surging through your veins, you pounce on your feet. You look at the mass of fur and muscles that just nearly pulverized you. The creature rears its head, gives you a deranged stare. It then turns to Tamika. She seems utterly terrified, frozen in place, as if she literally just saw a ghost. You notice the creature shifts its weight, as if preparing to pounce. I know there's a werewolf and it's gonna get me killed. Feeling your body strengthen with inhuman resilience, you jump in front of the beastly assailant, breaking the force of his attack. Still, the sheer weight of the creature slams you onto the ground. If it wasn't for your supernatural endurance, you're pretty sure your spine would have turned to powder. Suddenly, the beast lets out a pained roar. In a flash of consciousness, you see Tamika hunched atop the monster's shoulders, her claws plunged into its eye sockets. Floundering like a fish out of water, the monster finally manages to shake the feral Valkyrie off his back. The creature then turns towards you. For a second round, or two, it moves its mouth awkwardly, as if trying to remember how to form words.
Stay out my ground.
The creature runs off towards a nearby clearing, when all of a sudden, a gunshot sends it tumbling to the ground. A group of well-armed men in body armor emerge from the shadows in orderly formation and move in closer around the creature. Not sure what to make of what's happening. You figure it's best to get out of sight. As you start backing away into the nearby bushes, you notice Tamika following your lead. From the relative safety of the thick foliage, you watch in silence as the group of armed men subdue the creature using steel nets and cattle prods. In the corner of your eye, you catch Tamika looking away, as if she finds this whole spectacle somehow distasteful. She speaks under her breath, her voice shaking. "Can we just get out of here?" You see no reason to object. The walk back turns out to be a quiet and somber experience. You both walk in silence. The city, a blur of lights and cars curving by. You look over to Tamika. She seems lost in her thoughts. Finally, you decide to break the silence. All my money's going to this thing. It's a garou, or what most people would know as a werewolf. What the hell was that back there? A werewolf? No. If it were, we probably wouldn't be talking right now. Still, in a way, that might have been preferable. Okay, I think I know what this is. In the VTM, when a gangrel frenzies too often, and you frenzy by not feeding your blood like what's happening to me right now on the screen, they become more feral and beast-like until the beast just completely takes over. She rubs her temples, trying to collect her thoughts. Among those of my clan, we tell stories about the Scarred One. The Scarred One? It's the only name he's known by. He's a cautionary tale for young gangrel. He's what happens when you let the beast take over. I always figured him to be more of a metaphor. Seeing him in real life, it's like if a Christian just happened to run into Judas Iscariot one day, and seeing him hunted down by VS. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. I don't even know where to start thinking. Deciding to give her some space, spend the rest of the walk in silence. Soon enough, the familiar tree of Prospect Park comes into view. You stop by the entrance nearest to Tamika's haven. She keeps walking, without so much as a word or a glance in your direction. She stops, after several paces, and turns back towards you. I'm sorry. Thank you for coming with me. But now I have a lot of shit to figure out. Once I do, I'll let you know. And with that, she disappears among the trees. Seeing no point in sticking around, you take your leave. Good, assume that's my day. Yep, need to rest. Kadir al-Asmai, the sheriff of New York City, is knocking at the door to your haven. The sight comes as more than a little shocking. If he had business with you, you'd either expect him to see him already inside, or never see him coming at all. Yet there he is, on the other side of the peephole, patiently and politely waiting for you to let him in. You carefully unlock the door and face him in silence. Evening, may I come in? You simply stare at him. Your lack of an answer doesn't faze him, and your lack of resistance as he starts walking inside has obviously been interpreted as permission. Once inside, he starts looking around as you cautiously stay by the door. Haven't really had the time to make this place your own yet, have you? Feels like Langley's apartment through and through. A secluded study where nobody studies anything. Look at the books on the shelf. Obviously meant to impress guests, not to be read. They reveal nothing about their owner, aside from aching desire to be taken seriously as an intellectual. He picks one of them up and smirks before putting it away. The phenomenology of spirit. Next to all of this garbage poetry, we can make a bet. If she's read more than 20 pages, I owe you $50 and a gallon of blood. This the kind of place that self-professed hermits entomb themselves in to suffer. Considering how much you have to run around these nights, you probably use it to shelter from the sun and rest, right? Even though he's obviously making an effort to come off as non-threatening, it's impossible to forget the first impression he made. You still see him as a fierce predator, trying hard not to expose his true colors. You sense a familiar fight or flight response as you struggle to find a diplomatic answer to his last question. If Kadir is bothered by your silence, he doesn't let it show. He keeps walking around, toying with whatever catches his eye. Eventually he speaks up again. Watch any baseball lately? If I had to guess, you strike me as a Red Sox fan. Now he's inviting you to talk in a more direct manner. You attempt to overcome your physical reaction to him and reply as casually as you can. Wow. All my options, really? Come on. Your mind keeps going back to that night when everything changed forever. Waking up in hell with a body next to you, spending a night in the underground sweatbox, unsure of what will happen next. The endless car ride, 3 strikes, a bloodthirsty crowd, that blade, a rebirth, baptism by fire, frightening executor who made sure the flames scarred your spirit. As you look into his face, you realize he's read the emotions from yours. Not in the mood to exchange pleasantries, There's no animosity in his voice. He's just stating fact. Let me get straight to the point then. He momentarily stops caring about his surroundings and turns all of his attention to you, demanding the entirety of your attention in return. You see, there's something I've realized over the years. In large part, I may have been hired just to look menacing with a sword. But my job is all about seeing through bonds and relationships. The Camarilla would be safe as long as its members adhere to certain social contracts, making their dealings and affinities plain for everyone to see. But that obviously remains a pipe dream. This is a community of born conspirators, overly ambitious gangsters and politicians, monsters in denial, all sorts of tragically broken individuals. They are driven by desires that make them incompatible with the Masquerade, incompatible with prolonged survival of the Camarilla, incompatible with the methods I use to operate. And so I am doomed to be like a cop, constantly insulted behind my back, maybe for a good reason, but immediately called for help whenever someone loses their tableware. Or like an Agatha Christie protagonist, outwardly assisted by everyone, but constantly lied to about everyone's past and motivations, even if my failure to solve the mystery might be the end of us all. He tries to sound like he's peacefully resigned to his fate, but it's easy to detect a tinge of regret in his voice. A voice belonging to someone who once had bigger ambitions than this. What broke him? So you see, for this detective, the why done it is far more important than who done it or how done it. When you understand all the players and their mutual obligations, you easily understand every crime. But of course, the kindred know it, so they devise ways to make my job much harder, just like conspiracies between two unrelated actors that depend on scratching each other's backs for mutual security. Or they enforce a blood bond to make someone unexpected their thrall. A boss serving their employee, a rebel serving a tyrant, just because one is regularly being forced to drink another's blood. What has Sophie seen in you? Why does the prince keep asking me about your actions? How come you're being pushed to build your own coterie so fast? You're surrounded by unclear motivations which you yourself do not understand. That unnerves me, and it should unnerve you as well. Oh, and what are your motivations? Finally, you manage to raise your voice. Kadir notices the effort and smiles softly. So you haven't gone mute the last time I saw you. Good. Well, I'm here for a selfish reason. I need to develop a rapport with you to better fulfill my obligations. The last time we met, I couldn't see you as my equal. Now that you've been accepted into Camarilla, what choice do I have? I understand if you didn't want to see my face again, but I'm one of the faces of New York City community, and as long as you're a part of it, it's going to be impossible to avoid me. Especially when I have business with you, and I do. As you might have guessed by now, one of my tasks is uncovering and understanding your bonds, and one of them might endanger our community. Well, that's not menacing at all. Who is he talking about? You mean I'm trying to recruit someone? You mean someone I'm trying to recruit into my coterie? Kadir shakes his head. I'm monitoring them, and they know it. If they are breaking the rules, they're doing it in the right way, meaning I haven't learned about it yet. Unless you might want to share something. A moment of awkward silence. Joking. Mostly. He produces a file from underneath his coat and passes it to you. This is our troublemaker. You open the file and see some printed photos. You freeze up as you recognize the face. You're overwhelmed by a flood of repressed memories. Benjamin Newman, The asshole who made the last few years of your life a living hell. The sexual harassment, the mobbing, the way he kept delegating all his obligations to you without ever letting you reap the fruits of your labor. The way he stole your soul. Goddamn prick. You look up at Kadir, expecting answers. Apparently, your company is in trouble. Lots of financial irregularities. And Mr. Newman is all too happy to testify that one employee who's just suddenly disappeared is to blame. The story is as fishy as it gets, but your disappearance is being investigated, and a lot of people are searching for you. It attracts attention to us, and as such, it might be stopped. It must be stopped. Must be stopped. Sounds threatening. You dread thinking what he's planning. We'll arrange for you two to meet tomorrow so that you can straighten the situation out and say goodbye to the life you've forsaken. He'll arrange. What? Your eyes must look like saucers right now. Usually these matters are left to my discretion, and I can't think of an easier solution. The lost sheep reappears, takes care of unfinished business, and disappears. Never to be seen again. Nobody cares. It's simple. It's clean. No contrived schemes. No unnecessary victims. It gives me an opportunity to learn more about you as I observe. When neonates interact with their kind, they used to hold dear. Their true natures are laid bare for everyone to see. Of course he's invested in being kind to you. Or he's making clear his self-serving intentions so that you don't start figuring them out for yourself. Any objections? Any alternatives are probably worse. You shake your head. Very well. I'll arrange a meeting and drive you there tomorrow. Better come up with a load of bull that's easy to swallow. He disappears from the apartment, leaving you as confused as the last time he closed the door on you. God damn it. You need to think it through. For a long time you just sit in your haven, lost in your thoughts, thinking about how revenge is a dish best served cold. Oof. That man is terrifying. Okay. I decide what I'm gonna do. Tamika is an option. Small grayish bird. Protect ASAP Tam. Oh no. That's not good. Well. Order. Protect Tam. As you open the blinds, you are able to spot a small grayish bird flying off into the night. Looking down, you notice a small piece of paper on the windowsill. Protect. ASAP. Tam. Third time's a charm, you think to yourself. As you once again cross the gate of Prospect Park and head for Tamika's Haven. To your surprise, you find her out in the open, sitting on the lawn surrounded by a host of woodland creatures. Birds and squirrels mostly. The critters each patiently wait their turn as she flicks seeds at them. It almost looks whimsical. In a twisted sort of way. Hey Tam, surprised to see you out in the open. Yeah, maybe I'm just sick of hiding. She scatters the remaining seeds onto the grass and hops to her feet. I've been doing some digging. The Inquisition has a safe house set up in Manhattan. I think that's where they're keeping him. The scarred one, I mean. I want to pay them a visit. Kill that thing and as many of those SI bastards as I can along the way. Yes, Kadir is a very terrifying Toreador. And now I have to tell the angry gang girl that what she's trying to do is a very stupid idea. For those who are unaware, The Second Inquisition is the secret underground vampire hunting organization because the world is now aware that vampires exist and they're doing everything they can to destroy them. I.e., these are soldiers very much trained to kill our kind. Is it really worth it? I know you want revenge for your sister, but at the very least, it's a clear violation of the Masquerade. Yeah, and that's the least of our worries. Throw in a legion of armed goons standing in our way, and an all-powerful vampire as the cherry on top. But there's more to it than revenge. I think it can help me find out who I really am. I know it sounds corny, but I can't help but really explain it better than that. Trust me, I'm not taking this lightly. It's just something I have to do, with or without you. Oh, what the hell? Who wants to live forever, right? I'm in. Me too. He emerges from the shadows a mere few feet away from you. Son of a gun finally managed to sneak up on you. Tamika eyeballs him as he gets closer. You've seen that look before. He's clearly asserting her position, but this time, it comes off as a formality, rather than an actual challenge. How long have you been there, Raoul? Long enough. I'm still not buying that whole scarred one bullcrap. But taking a bite out of the Inquisition's collective ass is just too good to pass up. I want in. Call it the scarred one, Santa, or the tooth fairy. Just know that it's very real and very dangerous. Nah, fine. Consider me fairly warned. Now, can we move it along? I'll make you to kill me some SI fucks. Tamika, you got an opinion? Yeah, guess I know who the alpha is around here. He should come with us. He's got the right to be there. See the scarred one with his own eyes. Plus my brother can be a pain in the ass, but he's one hell of a fighter. There you go. Damn seal of approval. Settled, Vin. Let's go. Fucking finally. And with that, you leave the relative safety of Prospect Park, feeling yourself for the things to come. As you get closer to your destination, you get the sneaking suspicion that Tamika's been pulling your leg. Following her lead, take a turn from Broadway into Fort Tyrone Park. Doesn't seem to make any sense, you think to yourself. There's only one spot between here and the Hudson River. But it can't be. Can it? Sure enough, the stone facade of the cloisters comes into view. Tamika motions at you to keep out of sight. How the hell is this well-known tourist trap a hideout for the Second Inquisition? Wait, isn't this a tourist attraction? Only during the day. At night it serves as staging ground for the Inquisition. If my sources are to be trusted, and they usually are, they brought him here for what we call the processing. Doubt we'll keep him here for long though. If we want to get to him, it's now or never. As if on cue, a group of armed guards walks out of the museum, pushing a gurney with a large steel container on top of it. As they wheel it out into the open, the truck approaches. The operatives start preparing to load the crate onto the vehicle. You scan the area, trying to take a head count. Tamika beats you to it. I count at least 7, probably more inside. We should do this quietly. Take him out one by one. Raoul frowns. I say we go in guns blazing. Figuratively speaking. If there are any more inside, let them come. The more the merrier. Tamika's right. We should get in quietly. Take them out one by one. Tamika nods in silence. Yeah, fine.
Let's do it already, or you two bore me to final death.
Split up, aiming to cover as much ground as possible. Sticking to the shadows, you advance, keeping track of one another's progress. You hardly even notice as Tamicus takes out the first guard. Not a peep out of him. Trying to keep up, Rule kills one to your left. He's sloppy, takes a sweet ass time bleeding the guy up. With his dying breath, the man lets out a yelp, drawing the attention of one of his comrades. With the guard fast approaching, you ponder your options. Probably. They already know someone's coming in, so it's probably good to just kill him. As the guard walks by, you leap out of the shadows and use your sharpest weapon you have on you, your fangs, to slice his throat open. With his windpipe severed, he lets out a silent gurgle as he expires. Carefully, you lay his body out on the dirt. Looking to the side, you notice Raoul looking back at you. He nods, looking almost semi-impressed. 3 down, 4 to go. You keep a steady pace, moving across the courtyard, picking off the guards one by one. Tamika does her part. 3 to go. Raoul gets messy again. At least this time he's quiet. With only 2 of them left, you pick one for yourself, and gesture at one of your fellow ferals to take care of the other. Tamika's quieter, but Raoul's closer. Which one will you choose? Probably Raoul. He is closer. You nod to Raoul. That's all the encouragement he needs. You can see him grinning like an idiot as he sneaks up on one of the guards. The grin soon turns out to be very fitting. Instead of dispatching the enemy quickly and quietly, Raoul gleefully taps him on the shoulder. As soon as the guy turns around, the feral slashes him across the face, feeling the gooey warmth of his own eyeballs on his cheeks. The man lets out a blood-curdling scream. Startled, the final guard runs towards you. As the 3 of you approach him, the dire reality of the situation hits him like a ton of bricks. Paralyzed with fear, he keeps shifting his aim from you to Tamika to Raoul. He's severely fucked and he knows it. And since you stand closest to him, you might as well do the honors. You walk over to the quivering mess that mere minutes ago thought himself to be toughest of the tough. Before he can react, you slap the gun out of his hands, lean in, and smile. Hi. Half a second later, your fangs are already halfway to his windpipe. The blood tastes sour, with a hint of cowardice and regret. Could have gone out with a bang, chose to go out with a gurgle. Oh well. With the SI operatives taken care of, you turn your attention to a container sitting in the middle of the courtyard, using your combined strength, making a quick work of the steel door. As you walk in, the moonlight from behind you illuminates a twisted figure huddled on the floor. It's hard to believe that the thing lying before you, beaten and tortured within an inch of its unlife, is the same creature you fought back at the cemetery. What the fuck is that thing? It's what your sister warned you about, what you refused to believe. His lips move silently, as if searching for the right words. He looks to you, then turns to his sister, as if waiting for a sign. For a moment, Tamika just stands there. She looks down at the scarred one, the once fearful boogeyman, whose very mention could strike terror in the hearts of her tribe, now reduced to a whimpering pile of flesh. Finally, she turns to you, with a look of childish innocence mixed with confusion. Then she looks back at the scarred one. You can tell she's lost.
Damn. The hell you waiting for? Let's kill this thing and get out of here.
Are you sure that's what you want? Look at him. It's as if he's dead already. In all ways that matter, anyway.
You fucking kidding me? We came all this way just to back down now.
Stop talking. She's quivering, clenching her fists. You can tell she's about to reach a decision. Remember, you don't have to do this. You don't have to become like him. Suddenly, the very air around you seems to thicken. You look over to Tamika. She's not quivering anymore. She walks up to the scarred one. The pitiful creature presses itself into a corner in a desperate and futile attempt to crawl away. Without a word, she grabs the creature by the ears, sinking her claws to the side of his head. She looks him dead in the eye. Her voice cuts through the air like cold steel. Stay out of my territory. In one fluid motion, she rips the chain off the wall. The pitiful shadow that was once the scarred one scurries off into the night. Raoul seems flabbergasted.
Damn! What the hell are you doing?
Taking control. Standing outside the steel container, the three of you take a moment to gather your thoughts. You look at one another, at the blood staining your hands, clothes, and faces. Into pale moonlight it appears black and shiny, like a fresh ink stain on a fresh sheet of paper. Without another word, you head back towards the city lights. The journey back takes longer than it did in the other direction. With bits and pieces of the Second Inquisition still stuck to your clothes, you decide to play it safe by sticking to the back alleys and cutting through the dark corners of the city. Tamika stays several steps ahead. Both you and Raoul are quite content to follow her lead. You can tell that these last few nights have taken toll on her. Not necessarily in a bad way. She seems stronger, somehow. Confident. More in tune with herself. Soon the awkward silence proves unbreakable, enough that you're willing to risk making small talk with Raoul. You know, I'm still not sure what happened back there.
You wouldn't. Not something one of your lineage could understand. Our lineage, we have a special relationship with the beast. We can either let it control us, or become attuned to it. It's a constant struggle, marked with difficult choices. I think Tam just made one of them.
Pondering what you just heard, the rest of the trip barely registers. To your surprise, you suddenly find yourself back at Prospect. Tamika keeps walking. She strides through the park gate like a queen of old, returning after a victorious conquest. You want to call her out, but Raoul stops you with a gesture.
Not yet. Give her some time to process this shit. She'll let you know when she's ready. And hey, you did alright. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're still an asshole. But yeah, thanks.
He smiles at you. Wonders never cease.
See you around.
And with that, he follows his sister's footsteps. A weird smile creeps onto your face as you meld into the New York night. I believe it's time to rest. Knock knock. You'd ask, who's there? But you don't know if the sheriff of New York City would play along. When you open the door, you see him toying with his car keys. He's holding in his hand. Ready to go, fledgling. I don't feel like, but you give him a nod nonetheless. Excellent. Stay close. He leads you down the vehicle. He's parked nearby. Once again, he takes the wheel, literally and figuratively. Everything inside is just as you remember it, down to the rear view mirror reflecting the tense stare of your guide. However, the trip itself feels notably different. The last time Kadir drove you around, he was forcibly dragging you away from your old life. This time he's pulling you back into it. God damn Newman. You're getting violent just thinking about him. Let me tell you how this is going to go. As I've said, I've arranged a meeting between you and your kin. It's going to take place somewhere you should know very well. I'll watch over you two from a safe distance to make sure you adhere to the rules. You should know those very well, but I'll reiterate just so you can't ever say I didn't warn you. Don't do anything that would violate the Masquerade. Don't establish some secret routes of contacts. I will know. Don't treat it as the last time you two will meet. Take this chance to wrap up everything. Do treat it as the last time you two will meet. Here's your story. You're fine. Found yourself at a crossroads, decided to radically change your life, and move out of the city. The subway is unbearable. The rent is too high. They've heard it all. However, you do not appreciate being accused of a crime you didn't commit. So you're back, both to clear your name and to strike fear into the heart of the real culprit. By now, you should know how to cause fear among the living, right? He smirks at you. Have fun. As long as you don't leave a mess for me to clean up, we should be good. The car makes a sudden turn. I'll leave the finer details to you. Just be so kind and don't make me regret it. You can sense he's going out of his way for you, but doesn't try to force you into gratitude by stating it plainly. If you know, you know. You'll see it if you are worthy of his aid. We're here. Take a look around and recognize your destination. He was right. The familiar place is the office in which you wasted the best years of your life. Newman should be up there. Apparently someone is blackmailing him with documents proving his penchant for embezzlement. The poor guy is stuck in his office. He's probably pretty shaken up. The document doesn't exist. It would be a shame if someone went there, wiped the floor with the man, found proof that he pilfered the funds, and forced him to admit his crimes. He turns off the engine and relaxes comfortably in his seat. You silently leave the car and head straight for Newman's office. The elevator ride up just doesn't seem to end. After what feels like 5 hours, but in reality is closer to 30 seconds, you finally reach your floor. Your ex-boss is sitting in his office, just like Kadir said. He looks at, how can you put it, as if he has just googled body language of alpha males and attempted to poorly copy the most cartoonish posture in order to intimidate the blackmailer. Out of habit, you take a deep breath as you step inside his office.
Liliana?
He immediately relaxes. It's just Liliana, his eyes say, as a sly grin appears beneath him.
Forget to ask for a vacation? People are worried about you, you know. Not to mention, overworked to hell and back. Been overworked some more. Someone had to take your responsibility. And guess what? Just as we start digging into your work, some unexpected financial irregularities start popping up. We'll need you to work on a common story to explain those, you see. You keep quiet and just stare him down. The poor idiot still thinks he's the predator in the room. Let's see how long it takes for him to realize his mistake. Newman senses you're different somehow. He attempts to stare back but fails to withstand your glare. He starts to wonder what's going on and quickly arrives at a conclusion. Wait a second. So you're the one who sent me that message. Now that's a laugh.
He starts approaching you.
Sweetheart, if I'm going down, you're going down with me. You think you could convince anyone that you never knew what was going on around here? fat chance. And even if you did, you know my friends, they'd never let you live it down.
He's right in front of you, licking his lips, pondering the best way to display his complete physical superiority. You won't give him the chance. Throw him outside the building sounds like such a fun option. Sounds so good. I kind of feel bad having to pass it up. Scare the shit out of me. Before Newman blinks, you're standing in front of him with your arms crossed. After he blinks, your hand is already on his throat. He freezes up. He watches you get in his face and slowly brandish your long, long fangs. A loud, throaty, inhuman growl rings out throughout the office and begins to morph into a violent hiss. For a moment, your ex-boss can't identify the source of the overwhelming sound. Or rather, his brain refuses to accept that your relatively small body is capable of generating a noise like this. As he begins to understand and process the unnatural sight of your fangs, he is gradually overpowered by an animalistic fear that shatters his entire worldview. You were supposed to be a victim. Why are you a threat? Why did reality break? You slowly tighten your grip on his neck, not hard enough to trigger a fight response, but enough to strike deep fear into his heart. Kneel. Newman complies with your demand, squealing softly, a single tear making its way down to stubble on his cheek. Fuck. Fuck. Obey. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't kill me, please. You gather your strength and throw him, slamming him against his desk. Fuck. The boardroom predator has met his better in the place he least expected it. You slowly start walking toward him. Stop! I get it! I'll do it! I'll fucking do it! With his shaking hands, he scrambles towards a safe on the shelf. He opens it and takes out some documents inside. This is what you want, right? This is what you want? You rip the papers from his hands and browse them. These should be enough to, as Kadir would put it, prove his penchant for embezzlement. I'll clear your fucking name. Tell them somebody else. You twist your heel into his hand. He screams. I did it! I'll tell him I did it! If you don't, I'll visit again. You walk into the elevator, press the ground floor button, and wave at Newman as the doors start closing. He mumbles something under his breath and winces in pain. Back at Kadir's car, once you close the door, he instantly puts his foot on the gas pedal. Walking off the pitch with no regrets. Said everything you had to say. I wiped the floor with him and got the documents that should keep him in check. That asshole will be looking over his shoulder constantly for the rest of his life. Kadir smiles deviously. Looks like you can take care of business, as expected. I don't need to tell you to hang on to those documents, but keep in mind that you can use them for more than a security guarantee. We're always looking for more contacts among the big fish. Once you settle in, you can use what you know of Newman to convince the elders that he's better off as your ghoul. Oh, that's an enticing thought. You're surprised at his suggestion. The car speeds up to cross an intersection before the light turns red. You give Kadir a good, hard look. It seems so sad to just ask him, why are you not mean to me? I'm just gonna show gratitude. Thanks. Doesn't feel like a, how do you call it? Very vampire thing to say. But you say it nevertheless. He's visibly taken aback, and his usually furrowed brow smooths out for a moment. Then he takes on a serious, slightly sorrowful expression. Don't suck up to me, kid. Mr. Bad Guy is still here, and without a doubt, he will go back to decapitating suckers like you any time now. The car starts slowing down. We're here. You look out the window and see your haven. Take care. We'll see you around. Just pray I don't have to see you too often. Toreadors are supposed to be pretty. You know, the kind of people you like to look at and talk to and be around. This guy's just freaking terrifying. You leave the car and start walking to your haven, thinking about Kadir. Can't say you're fond of him. What with the welcome he gave you and all. But after the night, you can't say you aren't either. You're gonna need some more time to understand him, that's for sure. Ooh, still have time in the day. Let's let's go see what the reporter's back. Go fuck him over. The weather is cold and windy as you walk to Sophie's apartment. As a vampire, that doesn't matter to you anymore. You may have been saddled with eternal hunger, but at least you can ignore the wind chill. Just as you come up to the door of Sophie's building, she storms out murmuring into her phone. Yes, I know, don't worry. I trust you to handle it. You've heard Sophie talk to her associates before. It's always the same. Generalities and vague suggestions. It makes you think she's involved in mysterious machinations, yet doesn't tell you anything. Sophie's dressed to kill, but there's nothing unusual in that. She likes to make an impression. A black car with tinted windows is waiting for her in the front door. A chauffeur steps out to open the car door for her. Sophie notices you. I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. If you could look around for me one more time, that would be wonderful. You told me you'd gotten rid of that reporter. Turns out he's still here, snooping around. Sophie's very good communicating disappointment. She doesn't have to do much to make it clear that she's unhappy to have to return to this issue. I'll take care of it. After the night, he won't trouble you anymore. Good. Don't disappoint me. The reporter talked his way into the building during the day. Once the doorman understood what was happening, he threw out the reporter. He showed old pictures to me, to my neighbors. It's very awkward. You understand. Sophie disappears into the car, and the chauffeur closes the door behind her. You watch just as a sleek vehicle disappears into the Manhattan traffic. Just one anonymous car among many. Best sit down somewhere and devise a plan of action. You go to a nearby diner, settle into a booth, and order coffee from the steely-eyed Latino waitress. As she brings you your cup, you describe Frank Doherty to her, on the off chance that she's seen something. Just as she's about to answer you, you happen to look outside. Something catches your eye. The diner is brightly lit, so you lean closer to the window to see through the street. You got lucky. Frank is standing on the sidewalk on the other side of the street, looking at something on his phone. You slide out of the booth, throw a few small bills on the table. Mumbling something to the waitress, you step outside. Any chance to use vampire powers, I'm gonna take it. You keep out of sight and follow Frank patiently. His scent is strong, but you don't have to see him to stay on his tail. He disappears into an alley. It's different from the last encounter, but could as well be the same for all the protection it could afford him.
Oh, God. It's you again. Please, I'm working a different story, I swear.
Frank retreats deeper into the alley. In that case, you won't mind a little friendly chat.
I'm all about being friendly. Okay, I'm sorry I tried to bullshit you. Just tell me how I can help you.
How come you're here? I thought we agreed that there is no story.
Usually when someone says there's no story, that means there is a story. I just couldn't let it go. Look, I don't want any trouble. I can see that you're serious. There is something to Sophie Langley. I think you know what it is.
You take a long, hard look at Frank Doherty. He's a tenacious man, but not brave. After the last time we met, you were sure he had been dealt with. Where did he find the courage to come here again? I like you, Frank. You don't give up. What's your real angle here?
Everybody plays an angle. That's one of the things you learn in my profession. You're smart. You know that there'll be others after me. If there's a real story, they'll come in and find it. Your best shot is with a friendly reporter. Someone you can trust. Someone like me. What do you say? Get out of the story? It'll be good for you and Miss Langley too.
You almost believe it, but something about Frank feels off. You don't say a thing at first. It's easy to dismiss Frank as a joke, a has-been. Yet there's something beneath his talk. Another story. A moment of silence is all you need for your presence to properly register in Frank's mind. He's too weak-willed to resist. Someone's leaning on you. Frank, come clean.
What? No! Absolutely not.
Frank's voice sounds shrill. You know you got it right in one guess.
Sometimes I just need a little extra money, that's all.
Now we're finally getting somewhere.
There's a guy. He's paying me, that's all. I can't talk about that.
Come on, you can give me more than that.
No, really. Even I don't know that much about these people.
Why do they want information, Sophie Langley?
I seem to think there's something unusual going on with Sophie. Something to do with the old photos. Okay, that's enough. I can't tell you anything more. Yeah, I can say the position I'm in.
We're not done, Frank.
Fine. I'll leave her alone. I'm done with this. It's all bullshit anyway. You can tell Sophie Langley that you won't see me anymore.
As Frank leaves the alley, you consider your victory. He sounded defeated. Sincere. Is it really up to him whether he returns or not? Well, not comforting knowing that he might still come back. Alright, I think that's enough for the night. Let's just go ahead and read a few things. Yeah, I'm not gonna read what's on the screen, but essentially a blood bond is when someone drinks from vampire blood. Usually a vampire feeds a human, that human becomes their slave. Or a much more powerful vampire feeds a younger vampire's blood, making them essentially a slave. A neonate, a young kindred, recently embraced but more than a fledgling. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, thanks everyone for watching, and I guess we'll do this again next week for more of this. Well, for more of this. Bye.